All right, let's kick it off with the 911 call. It is 4 minutes. We are going to listen to the whole thing. Play it.
911 location of your emergency.
Hi, something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi, this is.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to. Is he passed out? Waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20. Here, do you want to talk to them?
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
You talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. They need you to talk to them.
Hello?
Okay. I've already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again? There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have one. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Wow. Incredibly disturbing. Just so the audience understands that the murders happened at 4 a.m. That call did not get placed until almost noon the next morning, 11:55 a.m. And for all this time, they have not released the 911 call. It wasn't until this week we finally got to hear it. We believe, not totally confirmed, but we believe that the girl who made the call initially was Bethany Funk, one of the 2 roommates who survived. The other roommate is named Dylan Mortensen. She's the one who saw an intruder, which they were trying to tell the 911 operator, who wasn't in the mood to talk about what happened the night before. But those are the 2 surviving roommates. So we believe that's Bethany Funk, who could barely get sentences out. And Howard, the remarkable thing, of course, is that they're talking about their roommate having been drunk and she isn't waking up. And just the one roommate, they're not, I am assuming that they had found Xana Kernodle, who was on the second floor with her boyfriend, Ethan, because they are not saying four, they only had 3 of the female roommates, but they're not saying 4 of our friends are dead. They're saying one girl's passed out and she was drunk last night. We think she's dead.
Right. It seems that they did not even go up to the 3rd floor. What's so, horrific, you just listen to that hyperventilation. It's so poignant what they went through. And the idea, first of all, that they did not make the call, as you pointed out, until about 8 hours after the crimes took place. And it's just been released that they were up that morning, one of the girls at 7:30, another at about 8:20, and they were making other calls and texts. And they still wait until 11:50 or so to call the police. And that's sort of hard to understand. And yet, these children, and they are children, were overwhelmed by this. And part of their reluctance, why they might not have called the police, and the fact that they were drunk, they didn't want to face the reality. We all hate to face impossible things, but you can see from the dispatcher how the kids, the students in this college town felt the adults react to them. We saw that on the police videos earlier when they come to the house on the noise disturbances calls, how the cops go out of their way to dump their beer on the sidewalk. There's a real antagonism between the students and the town, and that adds, I think, to their reluctance to have reached out for help. But also,
yeah. Well, I was just going to say, it's very eerie. So that she calls and says something is happening, and they say one of the roommates is passed out. And they're clearly referring to Xana Kernodle, because when she says, how old is she? She says she's 20. And both Kaylee and Maddie were 21. And when you're that age, you know exactly the number of years you are. You know what I mean? Like your age means a lot to you, especially when you're 20 versus 21. College roommates would absolutely have all the other ages in their heads of their roommates. So she's saying she's 20. So she clearly found Xana. But where was Ethan? Because our understanding was, if memory serves, I didn't go back and look this up, that he was found closer to the doorway of the bedroom that he was in with Xana. They don't mention him.
I don't think she's found Xana yet. What I think, and the way I reconstruct it, is that the door was closed and they were knocking, because when they go up, I think it's Hunter Johnson, one of the friends, goes up and knocks on the door.
And he's on that phone call.
Right, and he's calling their names. He goes, Xana, Ethan. And then, to his credit, I mean, the young man's a hero. He says, get out, get out. He insists that they run away. He doesn't want them to confront what's in there. And I'm not sure they actually even get a glimpse into the room. He shoos them away. I don't think they ever really saw the bodies. They just couldn't get a response. And that's what was scaring them. They were afraid to go into the room. They knew what they would find. But they couldn't quite face this unthinkable reality. And so they kept outside. And Hunter was the one who went in, and he behaved, like a knight in shining armor in a difficult situation.
That makes more sense. Because they're not saying there's blood everywhere. You and I have talked about how there was so much blood, it seeped through the walls of the house. They're not saying that. They're like, we're not sure. She was drunk last night. She maybe passed out. So clearly, but call 911. And so they clearly thought something was wrong. Maybe it was that she wasn't responding to texts and I don't know why they're not talking about Kaylee and Maddie. Kaylee, I think, wasn't even supposed to be there that night. She'd stayed over. She had moved out, but she was back visiting Maddie. But they're not mentioning Maddie. Nobody seems to be aware that there also might be an issue on the 3rd floor. All of it is just so strange. And then we have to talk about the thing you just mentioned, which is the text messages that morning. But first, make your point. Go ahead.
They had intimations that something was wrong, because you can see after the night before, the morning before, at 4 a.m. approximately, when she confronts Koberger, and then this is Dylan, and then she goes back into her room. The 2 surviving roommates are texting back and forth. and they'd say, I'm
We
freaked
just learned
out.
this.
Yes, I don't know what's happening. And finally, Bethany, who's in the first floor room, tells her, run, come down here. And it's almost like a prayer. She wants her to get there safely. And they stay there together until about 7:30 the next morning when they wake up. And again, they start texting and calling people. But they don't get to the police. They're afraid to get to the next level. They don't want to go into that room themselves, and they don't want to call the police. It's all too impossible to deal with. And it's a tragedy, I think, that the tape wasn't released earlier, because for the past 2.5 years, these two young women, the surviving roommates, have been slandered, libeled. Their characters have been impugned that they somehow were involved in some sort of cover-up. And you can just listen to this tape, and you can see that they were not involved in the events, but they are victims too.
Unbelievable. So you've got, well, now we know, this is all new. You've got the two surviving witnesses, because all along we knew that Dylan had seen the perpetrator, had seen an intruder that night wearing a COVID-type mask with bushy eyebrows around 6 feet tall in the house at 4 a.m., in the 4 a.m. hour. And that she saw him. It was unclear whether he saw her, but she froze. He left. She went back into her room, and we knew that they didn't call 911 until noon the next day. So 8 hours passed before she calls 911. And it's been one of the big mysteries in this case. Why didn't she call 911? She saw an intruder in the house in the middle of the night. And we know from the police affidavit, she said she was in a frozen shock phase, and that's why she didn't call. But that just seemed very strange that it would take you 8 hours, like you eventually would call. But then they were saying, well, it was a neighbor that came in and called. And you mentioned Hunter. Yes, he did come in and call. But we understand that was Bethany, and we think Dylan was also involved. So these two roommates, now we know, were texting, were scared, were in the one ran to the other one's room. They were in there hiding. And it appears that they may have gotten a hold of Hunter to come over to help check things out. But we still don't really understand the delay. Why that didn't happen earlier than noon.
The delay is irrational. It makes no sense, but this was an irrational moment. They were going through an experience that was overwhelming them. They couldn't process it, and they didn't want to process it. They refused to confront the logic of what was happening. Just as when Dylan sees the assailant in the house, she can't speak out. That's what I believe saves her life. If she had spoken up, I think she would have been a victim too. But because she's too overwhelmed, she retreats into her silence and goes into her room. The intruder leaves the house and she survives. But, this is really a story about people who are overwhelmed by events and don't want to face what is happening because it's too large. I write in my book, coincidentally, about how Koberger's father, as he's going across country with his son, as they're leaving for Christmas break, he too is getting intimations that something is wrong, but he can't quite go all the way. He can't make this realization that his son is a monster. And in the same way, these two young women can't somehow cross this Rubicon of what has really happened in their house, what has really happened to their friends.
You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat is already sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy has already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you too, and you could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold for no money out of pocket. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, just text MK to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.